Grasping swallow's tail has 4 parts to it: ward off, roll back, press, and push. So that you can see those 4 parts broken down. It's an extended bow stance. I'm going to detail the stance later. For now, I just want to show you the 4 parts, and then we're going to work on the hands first, just to isolate that work. All right, so this is a ward-off hand. We came from a grasping swallows, we came from a end of repulsing the monkey. So we do a ward-off hand. This hand comes up to join it. This is the rollback. This is the press. And this is the push. All right, from a different angle, extended bow stance. We're coming off of the end of repulse the monkey. So it's a ward off, roll back, press, and push. So those are the 4 basic parts of the grasping swallow's tail. Now let's take a close-up look at the hands. Okay, so I'm going to set this up so you can mirror me. Since you're doing the common direction of the form, I'll do everything opposite, and you just match me. All right, so you would have your left hand up in a ward-off position. Now again, remember, we came from a repulse the monkey under the repulse the monkey, so the upper hand of the whole ball is going straight down, and the upper hand is coming straight up. So this is our starting point when we're in our bow stance. But I'm going to throw that away for now. I'm just standing here in Wu Chi, and you can use this as a hands-only drill, and I'll get to that in a moment. So your left hand is up here in a ward-off position. This is the first component of grasping swallow's tail. The lower hand, the right hand in your case, swings up. And if I was turning this way so you can see it, swings like a pendulum. Comes up here. Then we're going to form a T. Now when I actually refine the form, it's not going to be this harsh. I'm going to have you do this for now as a fundamental, and then you can change it as we go. I'll show you near the end of the clip where I make that move and coordinate it with my footwork. All right, so we form a T. Then what we do is we turn 45 degrees to the corner, and as we do, you're going to flip both hands over at the same time. So your right hand is going to go palm up, and your left hand is going to go palm down. Now notice, I didn't move my arms at all. I basically am just flipping both my palms at the same time. So when I'm done, you can see my hands are on the same plane at a 45-degree angle to the corner, but also a 45-degree angle upward, all right? Because the next thing is going to be a drawdown. If somebody was punching at me, I would capture their hand and draw them down. That's why they're on the same plane. So you start with a T. Well, actually, you set up the T, then turn 45 to the corner, flip your hands, and later on we'll do the turn and the flip at the same time. The next part of the process is to let your right hand lead your left hand down. Turn at your center, bring it all the way over towards your hip. Then turn your left wrist out. In other words, you're setting up another ward-off hand, but we're going to set up a press in addition to that. So the right hand, in your case, point that towards the ceiling. And you're going to slip this inside your wrist, so that when you come out of this, you have a press set up. Now, looking at the press a little closer, what I want to do here is, here's my ward-off hand, and my press hand, this knife edge is the exact same thickness as your wrist. Okay, from here to here is the same distance as here to here. So when I set this up, I'm going to take this knife edge and I'm going to put it right inside that wrist. Now notice that the base of my pinky finger aligns with the top of this hand. So that's this part of the press. The lower part matches the bottom of your forearm. So don't do this. I see some people put the hand up here. I see some people put the hand down here along the pinky. This would break your fingers, and this would be a weak ward-off hand. This would slip and you wouldn't have any control. This is a very firm press. The other thing I kind of like to draw to your attention, notice that with this knife edge, I can roll my hand, kind of like swinging a gate. All right, so when I swing the gate, I get a better support with this pressed hand. So going back to what we were doing a second ago, I start off with my ward-off hand. Again, you're mirroring me. slip up to form the T, turn 45 degrees to the corner, flip both hands at the same time. Your right hand will lead your left hand down to your side. Now, cock this wrist out and remember, point these fingers towards the ceiling and plant this so that the knife edge matches your wrist. Not too high, not too low, right in the middle. Bring this close to your center. Then you're going to expunge your hands a little bit in front of you. Next part is the push. To do the push, we're going to cut over the top, like I'm cutting a loaf of bread, break my hands apart. From here, I'm going to turn my center. My center is going to push what will be your left hand. It's going to push your left hand forward, and the other side of your hip is going to pull your right hand back. So now my hands are lined up, one behind the other. Okay, one behind the other. To finish the move, you're just going to return your left hand back to your side, or back to your shoulder level. Square your hips to the front. Push down and away. And when you finish your push, it's not a flat hand push. The hands are curved a little bit because people have a round girth for a rib cage. So my hands, by being curved, fit on that rib cage and gives me more firm control of somebody's upper body. All right, so just one more time. We do a ward-off hand to start. This guy comes up to form a T. We turn to the corner. We flip both hands and keep them on the same line. Don't move your arms at all. Just turn the right palm up, left palm down. Let the right hand lead the left hand down to your hip, off to your side. Form another ward-off hand. Point your fingers towards the ceiling and set up your press. Put the knife edge into the crook of your wrist joint. Swing this back to the front. Expunge your hands a little bit. Now you can't see me moving my center because I'm facing the camera, but I push my center a little bit. Of course, being a Wu Chi stance, I don't get to push much, but I don't need to push much to send somebody far. But you'll see it more pronounced when we do it actually with the bow stance. So expunge the hands, cut over the top, let the hands slot down, break them apart, shoulder width, turn your center to push your left hand and retract your right hand. Then draw your left hand back as you square off again. Push down, and again I'm pushing my center first. So actually as my hands go down, I start to push with my center and finish my gesture. So if I do this from the side, maybe you'll see my stomach move a little bit more. So I start off with my ward-off hand from the end of Repulse the Monkey. Swing this like a pendulum. Turn to the corner 45, flip both wrists at the same time, don't move your arms. Let the right hand guide the left hand, form another ward-off hand, set up your press with the fingers towards the ceiling, knife edge fits in the crook of my wrist, the base of the pinky is in line with my forearm, okay, that's the deal. Not this and not this, right here. Bring it in close to you. Now I'm going to move my center a little bit, move my center and expunge my hands, cut over the top, break apart. Now I'm going to twist my center to push my left hand and pull my right hand so that they're lined up, one right behind the other. Then I'm going to recoil my center to bring this hand back, drop it down, push my center, push the center, and finish my gesture. Okay? So just be careful when you're doing the push part that your hands are straight one behind the other. Right? When we finish the press and we break apart, we don't keep them out here, we line them up. It's in the withdraw that I'll get back to shoulder width, down and away. So if you want to practice the hand drill by itself, here's just a couple repetitions of it so that you can practice and follow along. All right? All right, so you're going to mirror me. And we'll start with the ward-off hand. Come up, I'm standing in Wu Chi, form the T, turn to the corner, flip the hands, bring it down, set up your ward-off, pull in your wrist, set up the press, expunge the hands, cut over, break apart, turn at the waist, and then recoil the waist to bring it back. push down and away. All right, again, from here, ward off hand. Form the T, turn to the corner, flip, pull back, ward off hand, fingers towards the ceiling, plant this in here, set up the press, bring it forward, press, cut over, break apart, turn at the waist, pull back, recoil the waist, down and up. Okay, all the way through. And up, turn, prep the press, bring it in, press, cut, break apart, align the hands, recoil the hip, down and up. Here's a couple on the other side. Gotta do the dark side too. All right, so you have the right hand up. And form the T, turn to the corner, flip, retract, ward off, turn your hand out, set up your press. Again, not too low, not too high, right here. Prep it, press, cut, break apart, use the hips to line the hands, recoil the hips to bring this one back, down and away. Okay? Form the T, turn to the corner, flip, down to the hip, set up the press, bring it in, press, cut, break apart, turn the hips to line the hands, recoil the hips to drop back, down and away. One more. Form the T, turn to the corner, flip, pull it to the side, ward off hand, press hand, bring it tight, press, cut, break apart, roll back, turn the hips, pull back, recoil the hips, down and away. So the stance for the grasping swallowtail in my style of doing the short form is an extended bow stance. For now, you should know clearly that a normal bow stance is formed by shifting your weight, turning one foot out 45 degrees, shift over to that, stepping perfectly straight ahead on imaginary railroad tracks. It's not a long stance, but it's a very stable stance. If you look at it from the side, I shift left, open right, shift right, bend this knee, and where the knee is bent, simply draw it back, touch the heel down, shift to 50-50, hips are squared to the front. So it's a fairly short stance. You know, I'm in a box that's maybe 3 by 3 square feet. So that's a very strong stance. All right, an extended bow stance is going to be longer than that. So I'm just going to stay on the side so you can see that difference. So I'm going to shift over here, turn my foot 45 degrees. Now, I need to sink a little bit because to get a longer stride, if I'm high and bend this knee, it only goes so far. That's just basic math. The higher I am, the shorter distance I can go forward. So when I set up the extended bow stance for grasping swallowtail in the form, I sink so that when I now do this, look how much further forward I can go. I get a much better elongated stance as opposed to being high and only going this far. So that's the key thing to be aware of. Make sure that you sink down so that this will go out further in front of you. Then I can bring this hand up and start my gesture. Let me face this direction so you can see my hands. Starting from Wu Chi, I'm going to shift my weight. I'm going to turn my center 45 degrees to open this. All right, sink low. I'd be holding the ball at the end of Repulse the monkey. Extend this heel, bring the left hand up, right hand down. So now I've got my extended bow stance. Let's continue with the gesture itself. So the right hand forms the T, we turn to the corner, flip both hands. Now we're going to do what's called a reverse bow stance. So this foot here is pointing to the corner of the gesture. I mean, since I'm facing this way, that's front. So this is 45 degrees in that direction. I need to move my foot from this angle 90 degrees over to the reverse angle. So this is a reverse bow stance. I need stability when I go to squat down for the grasping swallowtail. So from here, I'm going to set this up by opening 90 degrees from here to here, to set up a reverse bow. So now I'm going to sink down. Now what's important here is as you sink down, don't let your knee buckle. This is the other reason that we have to open this foot. If I keep my foot here and try to sink down, this is as far as I can go. My autonomy won't let me go any deeper than this. But if I open this up 45 degrees, then I can sit, and as long as my knees are over my toes, and I've got a good stretch from snake creeps down, I can go all the way down here. Turn out my wrist, get my fingers pointing to the ceiling, set up my press, knife edge in the wrist, bring it into me, start to shift back to the front. When you're 50-50, pull this back foot and let your center pull the foot and bring your press hand around. Move the center a little bit, to expunge the hands, cut over the top, relax, break apart. Now we're going to do another reverse bow stance, same thing. Foot from that corner to that corner. As I do that, I'm going to turn my quad to line up my hands. Now it's the same move, except that when I draw my left hand back, I'm going to bring my toes up, drop this down to center level, 50-50, square your hips to the front, push the center, and finish the gesture. So all the way through, form the T, turn to the corner, flip the hands, reverse bow, sink, set up the press, keep it close to you. Reset your forward bow, push the center to push the hands, cut over the top, break apart. Another reverse bow, roll back, toes up, and finish your gesture. So again, there's the 4 parts, right? Ward off, roll back, press, and push. Okay, so that's the fundamentals. I want to address one other nuance in setting up the extended bow stance. So I'm going to do that again facing on this side. We finish with Repulse the monkey. So I'm pretty much here and I step to the corner. On the last one we don't look behind and we hold the ball. Now here's the nuance I'm talking about. When I go to hold the ball, I don't stay up here and then sink as much as I know that I have to get low. So I try to sink in preparation to get down low before I go ahead and make my stance, all right? Now sometimes you'll find that, and I'm going to point this out because I just did it, you might not end up with the proper stance when you're doing your Repulse the monkey. Sometimes it happens to me too where I'm going like this, and even though I'm trying to step to the corner and point my toe over there so that I have my cat stance, sometimes I'll lose it for a second, and instead when I'm doing this final one, I'll step over here, and for some reason or other in this movement, as I start to pull this foot, I don't know, sometimes this ends up planting over here. Can't quite figure out when that happens or why it happens. But here's my point. If it turns out that you're in this configuration instead of this one we're trying to hit, don't sweat it because we come from that on the second grasping swallow's tail anyway. So all you have to do is, if you make that little mistake there, as you hit your 50-50, just fix it. It's not a showstopper, all right? It's great if you can do the other thing, but sometimes it's hit or miss. Sometimes my foot ends up here, sometimes it ends up here. Hopefully you've been doing Tai Chi long enough where you know it doesn't feel right when your feet are out like this, and you make that adjustment on your own. But the point I'm trying to make here is that when I come into my last Repulse the monkey, okay, when I do my last Repulse the monkey and not look behind, I start to sink now because I know that I need an extended bow stance next. Okay, so that's the fundamentals. Now we have to talk about how to turn around. So grasping swallow's tail is done twice, one in one direction, and then we're going to turn around and start heading in another direction to keep the form contained within a certain amount of footage. I've been demonstrating this to you on the opposite side so that you can mirror it. So we're still going to hold true to that. All right, we finished with an extended bow stance and we have the push. To turn around, Basically what we need to do here is use your center, use the center to open the elbow. And now I start to shift my weight to my rear foot. In this case it'd be your left foot, but it's going to be my right foot. As I shift my weight, I use my center to pull my left foot, which is your right foot, around, and I stop it when it's facing what would be the front of the form. If I was facing in the other direction, it would be in the same direction I started off when I was in the Tai Chi beginning. So as I bring my foot around, I open my elbow, shift my weight, let my turned hand draw the other hand with it. All my weight's in my rear foot now, okay, because I gotta have some way to bring this foot around. If there's weight in it, I can't bring it around. All right, we're gonna continue this sweeping motion. Once I'm over here, pretty much over my back leg that I'm supported by right now, I'm going to sit back and start to form a holding ball gesture. When my weight's about 50-50, I'm going to use my hip to continue this circular motion that's going to draw my heel so that it's now facing that corner. When we started, this back foot was over here. So when I start to make this move, I root in the back foot. I'm going to turn my front foot. Now, I'm in a pigeon-toed stance. This foot's over here because of the bow stance, but I'm breaking out of that and setting up a new bow stance. So to move this foot, I need to get this foot to the other corner. So once I'm over here, I'm going to shift my weight to the rear foot and be your right foot in your case. I'm going to sit back and I'm going to use my quad, my hip, to pull this heel, and notice that my hand is over this foot and will draw it back. As I draw it back, I relax the upper hand, and now I have my whole ball over here. To finish, I'm going to do an extended bow stance. So stay low, reach out, point your toes straight ahead. As the toes go down, you start to move your hands. When I'm 50-50, use this to pull the back foot, square your hips to the front, and finish with your press. Your ward-off hand, all right? I said press because the Chinese word for this is pong, and it begins with a P, so there's my excuse. Anyway, this is called pong in Chinese. All right, so here we go. Form the T, turn 45 to the corner, flip the hands. Now remember, reverse bow. Use your center to pull, use your center to change your footwork from this corner now, 90 degrees to the opposite corner. So we're going to do a reverse bow, sink down, keep your knees over your toes. Give me a ward-off hand with a press in the middle. Keep it close to you, 50-50. Square off the back foot, or forward bow stance, square off your hips. Push your center a little bit and press, cut over the top, break apart. Another reverse bow. Use your hips to move your hands and your rear foot. Again, hands and feet don't move by themselves. The center controls everything. That gear moves hands and feet. All right, squat down, pull your toes up, draw your front hand back, reset your front foot, 50-50, fix the back foot, square your hips, and finish your gesture. So all the way through, I would be here, form T, turn, flip, reverse bow, squat, set up the press, bring it in, reset, forward bow, push center, push press, break apart, reverse bow, toes up, toes down, and finish your gesture. Okay, so I'm going to go through that whole sequence. Again, I'm doing it in the opposite direction so you can follow along if you want to. All right, so I came from an end of Repulse the monkey. So remember, sink low, extended bow, draw up, turn, flip, reverse bow, sink, set up the press, bring it in, 50-50, forward bow, cut, break apart, reverse bow, line up the hands, toes up, toes down, 50-50, fix, square, finish the gesture. Okay, open up the elbow. roll back. You have to sit back really deep, because when this comes around, you need to be able to get all the way back to this foot, straight to the rear foot. Straighten this one out, draw it back, sink, set up your extended bow over here, root the back foot, form the T, turn to the corner, flip both hands, reverse bow, roll back, press, and push. All right, that's the whole sequence. Now what I want to do is talk about a refinement. So to make the gesture look a little bit more pleasing, I'm going to alternate how I do my first opening move after the ward off, actually between the ward off and the roll back. So I'm going to do that in Wu Chi first, just to show you the handwork. Now, I've got my ward off hand. Instead of forming the T like this, I'm going to move them at the same time. So once I show you the stance, you'll see where these connect. But as this hand comes up, when I'm about halfway, I start to turn to the corner, and you can see I'm flipping my hands in process. So they're done when I get here, compared to here, here, flip. You're actually flipping and hitting the corner at the same time. So it's more like this. This comes up, and when it's about halfway, almost there, when it's about halfway, start to turn and see how my wrists are rotating at the same time. But I still want to end up in this configuration where my inside hand, the right hand in your case, is pointing to the heel of this, and these guys are in the same plane. If you have your hands like this and just slide them apart, that's what you're looking to achieve, so that you can follow this 45-degree angle with your right hand to lead right down to your hip. All right. So basically, I come from my end of Repulse the Monkey. I bring the lower hand up, and when I'm about halfway, I start my turn and flip simultaneously. Then I roll my hands down. Everything else is the same, don't care. All right. Now, in terms of when do I move the base, that's a little bit trickier. So here's my extended bow stance. I'm coming off of the end of Repulse the Monkey. So as this hand comes up, and as it starts to turn, I'm moving this back foot, because what I'm trying to time is that my back foot is now to the rear corner just before I'm ready to pull. So there's a little bit of a window in here that you got to kind of figure out. So this comes up, and I start to turn the back foot as I rotate opposite. Now once my foot is planted, I should be ready to roll back. All right. So from here, float this up, float it up, start to move your foot and your hands. So they kind of move at the opposite ends at the same time, because you're trying to end up here when the foot's here. I don't know if you can see that, but that's what I'm doing. From up, start to move the foot, turn the corner and rotate the hands. Then you can sit down and do the rest of your gesture. Okay, so hopefully that'll help you polish it a little bit further and make it look pleasing to those who can't figure out how we can move slow and get so much benefit. All right, go to work.